My name's Lisa Baker. I'm the Head of Governance here at the university. I've worked here for 13 years and I now run the Secretariat, and I also work very closely with the University Secretary who deals with our Board of Governors, and I also deal with the senior leadership team, so together we have the big picture about what's going on strategically and how those decisions that are made at those top levels are followed through. I have a law background, so I gained my degree from Aberystwyth in 1996. I also did a diploma in legal practice in 2003, although I'm not a practicing solicitor. And I think that this has really helped me to fully understand all of the rules around corporate governance and be able to converse in that type of language. I am a member of the Association of University Administrators, and I'm also a mentor for postgraduate students who do programmes through the AUA around HE management. In terms of expertise, I think that the skills that I've gained over the past few years at the university certainly relate to communication. I have excellent written skills. That's a real talent to be able to foster if you can, particularly if you're taking minutes in meetings, because those decisions are so important that they've got to be very clear. Previously I worked at the University of Nottingham where I was an exams officer, but that's been my only previous role really. I've worked in Secretariat for a very long time. So corporate governance and the role it plays in today's and tomorrow's global economies and civil societies. I think corporate governance is really important because it provides a structure around which good decision making can be affected. And critical to that is the relationship between non-executive and executive directors. The non-executive directors really need to have their fingers on the pulse of what the business is doing, so that those decisions that they make at that very high level can be made confidently and in a proper and informed way. And this means that there must be excellent communication between both executive and non-executive directors. Here at the university, this is affected through the senior leadership team and its relationship with our Board of Governors. And the Board of Governors meets on a very regular basis, up to 10 times per year. And the cycle of business means that you can predict what will be coming up on a yearly basis, but it also allows flex for those things that come up which are urgent or unexpected. But really it comes down to a relationship between those two bodies which affects how corporate governance is received. So why should organisations care about corporate governance and who's responsible for it? Well, I think that good corporate governance provides legitimacy to company outcomes. It means that people both internally and externally are confident in the way that the business is being managed, and ultimately it can enhance companies' businesses in the long term and in long-term sustainability. In terms of who's responsible, I think it's both the executive and non-executive directors. So the executive directors who are responsible for the everyday overall management of the business, they are responsible for putting the strategies into action, basically from the non-executive directors and shareholders. And so it's a symbiotic relationship between those two bodies. So what is organisational effectiveness and what role does it play in the future of corporate governance? Well, basically, organisational effectiveness is the way in which corporate governance is delivered. So it's all about management and organisation, and it's normally affected primarily through the company secretary, who's the person that's common to both executive and non-executive directors. So they are the expert around the law around corporate governance and around the appropriate codes of practice. And I think that in the future it will become even more important, because with Brexit, for instance, and with the global economy as it currently stands, I think having effective corporate governance and appropriate organisational effectiveness, this is what's going to provide solid foundations for companies and businesses in the future, and will enable them to have relationships with each other, because they will be confident in the way that businesses are being handled, which will improve relationships. I think the key takeaway for me for corporate governance is around communication and the ability to communicate at all levels across the entire business, but particularly enable that communication between the non-executive and the executive directors. And I think being that conduit between those two bodies is so important, and also to be very transparent about what it is that you do and how you do it. I think over my years of work at the university, building those relationships with the senior leadership team and the board of governors has been critical to where I am today. And I think that once they understand that you have integrity and that you are positive and honest, I think that really helps relationships and also provides you with the credibility to do the work that you have to do. So I think my advice to students would be to try and get as much work experience or work shadowing or even a work placement as you can, as high up as you can in businesses, because it's at that level that you will be able to get the bigger picture about how decisions are made and what those decisions actually lead on to and how they're followed through.